What's going on, GBA type people? It's Jar and Aster back with GBA Power Rankings for Week 11, and this season is coming to a close. Aster, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a long ride. We're almost at the end, but we have one more week ahead of us. Right now, we got to talk about this week and everything that happened. Quite a few teams have been permanently knocked out from playoffs.
That's exactly right. We're coming down to the final stretch. I believe only one more playoff spot is to be decided. But Aster, why don't you start with the teams that have been eliminated for us?
Yeah, let's go through them. First off, of course, we have Old Man Tup, who has still failed to get a win all season. We're hoping and praying, fingers crossed, that last week, maybe Lars, since he is now knocked out of playoffs, will be kind enough to give Tup a win and not leave him with an 0-12 record.
Lars, don't do that. Tup will not appreciate that win. And Tup, hashtag tank for first pick. I respect it. It's been a respectable strategy at this point. But Tup, you have been eliminated. Me and Aster are both rooting for you to pick up a win before the end of the season. But we can jump right into Steve and Battler X. The Milwaukee Southwest organization did pick up a win this week. Now, we could have moved him up, but who really gives a fuck? These people have all been eliminated. Moving them up and down at this point is silly. So he's going to stay here at 15. He's doing such a good job there. He looks so nice at the bottom. But he did pick up a win versus Callum, who'd been picking up some momentum. So good win for Steve Battler X. They still look to have a top pick for next year. And it looks like a promising sign for the organization to beat a player like Callum.
Yeah, for sure. I think Steve should probably make do with his first or second overall pick next season. Something maybe not named Circuitry. Would be a good idea. And maybe build around whatever he picks correctly. Not end up with a bunch of ghost and dark weaknesses.
As you can tell,
maybe.
Aster's kind of savage from lack of sleep right now.
Yeah, I've always been savage with Steve, but he knows I love him. And I'm really glad to see him finally have gotten a win, because you could see that he was getting really close to getting a win every single week. It was just like slight errors in prep that really cost him, bringing Trick Room when it really wasn't necessary and things like that. So it's really nice to see him pull out a win. It was against Callum, of course, another one of our teams that isn't eliminated from playoffs, so it really doesn't matter with the standings. We didn't move him up or down. I kind of still adjusted teams based on how they performed this week on our rankings, just for it to look nice. But that's pretty much it for Battler X. Moving on into my number 14, Jar's number 13, we have Necro Stevo and the Utah Jasmine, who found a way to take a winning team and just have it crumble in their hands. Unfortunately, was not able to adapt to the team that they were left with. Hopefully, we see Necro come back next season. I have seen some of his other content. I can see that he's a decently competent player, so I would like to see him draft his own team, maybe something that he's a little bit more comfortable with, and maybe we will get to see a different side of Necro Stevo next season.
Yeah, also his division is extremely tough. I mean, the last playoff spot that it's being fought for is in his division. He's just been mathematically eliminated by differential at this point. But yeah, I think you could see the same thing with Mono. Once he gets his own team, we could see him really kick it into overdrive for next season. But this season, he did inherit a team that's drafted by a less than orthodox player for sure. But Necro is out for this season. Moving on, I have Dan at number 14. Aster has him a little bit higher. The reason I have Dan at 14, again, it doesn't really matter. If you guys want me to keep moving the teams, feel free to let me know. But it doesn't really matter moving these teams at this point. He definitely played a good game this week. That was kind of the Dan I'd expected to see, the guy that won a championship. He played like that guy versus Duncan this week. He used his offensive threats extremely well, learned from his previous battle with Duncan, and picked up a W this week. So I'm looking forward to how he'll respond to this season, and I hope he comes back strong.
I don't expect any less from Dan, but to take down players, especially with lesser experience than he has. Not to say that not anybody can beat anybody else on any given week, but I like to see strong performances from Dan. Like you said, we've seen great things from him in the past, and we want to see that again next season if Dan, of course, decides to return as the St. Louis Rampardos or as his other team, the New York Metapods. Whatever he chooses to come back to the GBA as, if he does come back, we want to see a strong performance from him next season. It's funny because Dan is actually has two of the Pokemon in the top 5 kill leaders, being Victini and Terrakion. And somehow he's very good with those two Pokemon specifically, but the team that he drafted, he was not able to support around them correctly, and not able to clutch out wins, unfortunately. I feel like maybe, Victini and Terrakion are great win cons usually, but he wasn't able to use any of his other Mons as win cons in the case where Victini or Terrakion would go down early in a game. So I want to see maybe a different style of team drafted by Dan next season and see him bounce back strong. So that's pretty much it for him. In my number 13 and Jar's number 12, we have Callum and the Alola Athletic. Callum, who started out the season decently strong. Of course, we did find out as we moved on into the season that he had taken down teams that weren't going to ultimately end up performing well throughout the entirety of the season. And then we saw some faux pas on Callum's part in terms of prep, knowledge. We really got to see his experience as a Pokemon player come through into Draft League format, but I think that he's learned a lot of anybody that is not Crimson. I would say he is probably the most improved player over the course of the season by far, and despite his record, he's come out strong. He's tried to win his games regardless, and we've seen great things, and we hope to see great things in the future as well.
Yeah, so he lost to Steve this week. Less than ideal for any team, really, at this point. It's kind of a moot point this year. He's been getting better. We've seen him improve. It was a very good first season in Draft League format. I know he did that EXPNU thing a while ago, but the GBA level is a pretty big step up, and to come in and play the way Callum has on the level he has into a very tough, deep league, and doing as well as he did was impressive. And like you said, very much a lot of improvement throughout the year. Started very, very good, but like you said, played a few easy teams early. Once he got into the middle pack, the top tier players, he did fall off a bit. But the only thing I'll say for Callum is that I think if he's a little more involved in his draft, get mons he's comfortable with, and his building next year, he could be a real threat. But we do have to move on to the second to last team, I believe, that was eliminated from playoffs this week. We have Duncan Knee Deep, so he was eliminated this week. I believe he lost to Dan. Yes, Dan. And he had a lot of big ups and big downs this season. He started slow, picked it up for a bit, and then fell off towards the end of this season a little bit. He had some good moments, some leaning on Mandibuzz that happened. Overall, he played a very solid season, and I look forward to see what the future holds for the Free State Torcats.
Yeah, I think that maybe just his team wasn't the strongest, heavily relying on Sun on some weeks, and other weeks using Weavile as a main source of offense, which is always a good thing, but if it's your only source of offense, that's a problem. Hopefully next season we get to see him draft a team that has a little bit more synergy. I felt like it was still lacking in some regard. I'm not 100% sure if Duncan was actually knocked out this week or last week, but either way, we did see some brilliant moments from Duncan. We see his potential as a really good Draft League player. He's learned a lot from players like Gator, like Chimp, as he's said before in the past. So we're looking for him to carry that into the next season if he does return once again, of course. And wrapping up the teams that have been eliminated from playoffs, and this occurred this week, we have Lars and the Borussia Donphan. Lars took a pretty big hit from George this week. Pretty big reckless hit in high jump kick, actually, from a Mean Shao. Pretty much shattered his chances. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I just woke up. Okay, I'm bad with puns, but yeah, he definitely did not have a great game. Made some over predictions against George. We'll talk about it more when we do get to him. But unfortunately, Lars is eliminated from the playoffs. I like the fact that he did anything that he could to try to stay in the game. You always go for hacks if that's your only way to win and your only way to stay in the competition. And I do appreciate him going for it. So that's it for the Borussia Donphan.
Yep, so Rob's favorite team has been eliminated. Hashtag remember Rob. He was here for 1 week, then gone. But Lars officially gone from playoffs, and it mainly felt like he just couldn't get any momentum going in the right direction this whole season. He's definitely improved a lot from being, I believe it was the second overall pick this season. And I look forward to seeing what he can do going forward. But there is one last thing I want to say. Fuck you, first of all. if you don't know what this is in reference to, please go watch Lars's video. It's just the team builder part. You don't actually have to stay for the battle because we just told you what happened.
You're not actually angry. You love that. Come on.
Lars would have predicted Registeel coming, whether I said shit or not. Get the fuck out of here. You have a Nihilego and a Magearna. Fucking get out. You thought that was coming and you over-prepped for it anyway. And if you're telling me you didn't think it would come versus your team, you probably deserve to get eliminated from playoffs this week. Just kidding. I love you. I love you, Lars. I appreciate the, I don't know if you want to call it a shout out, but whatever it was, yeah. I appreciate it. Good job, Lars, this season. But we do have to talk about teams that still can potentially make the playoffs, and we have only 2, and they're our number 8 and 9.
Yep.
So we're both going to start. We both have Crimson at number 9, and he is fighting for the last playoff spot versus his opponent this week, Tom. So that is the game to watch this week. You might see a few meme games in the last week of GBA. You always do. But these two guys are fighting. They're going to be giving it their all. And I look really forward to seeing this game. For Crimson's side, the Scarf Magneton, sorry, was interesting, but I didn't feel like it really helped him a ton versus Geo's team. He has a very solid wall core to switch around that thing. Same thing with Scarf Crook. I thought the Metal Plate Torn was cool. I think that set was smart. And Safety Goggle Volk was just interesting, but it wasn't set up, so it just felt like he did not want to break through Geo's team. And I think he did get, play-wise, he did get out to the early momentum. He felt like he was in a good spot, and I agree. I think he had the early game momentum, but basically, Geo, if you watch the game, brought the perfect Salamence set, had his own plan for the game, and Crimson did not see it coming, and that was the game from there. He just clean swept him with a Moxie Dragon Dance Salamence. Darkanium Z, what a set by Geo. I gotta give it to him, but you know that this is a new gen, Crimson. You can't always be so dependent on walls that used to be so good at walling other mons, like Slowbro for a Salamence. Aster, what do you got?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Crimson this season has been up and down, and this was one of the down weeks, and if he has yet another down week in the very last week, next week, then we are going to see him eliminated and out of playoffs, and Tom is going to take his spot. So this is very crucial. It's been the story with him all season. I did have a bold prediction for Geo, actually, at the beginning of the season, that he would get 3 Salamence sweeps throughout the entirety, but that still includes playoffs, so my hopes aren't over yet, but I think this was the first time that Geo actually swept with Salamence. Now, the problem with prepping for Geo's team, and I can see why Crimson would have had an issue, and anybody else that faces him in the future, is going to be that Geo actually started off the season with a very offensive mindset. And he was losing offensive win cons very early in the game, like we mentioned repeatedly. And now what's happening is that he's switched over to a defensive mindset. So it's hard to read if he's going to bring absolute bulk or if he's just going to run through you with a Salamence. And that's where I think Crimson had an issue this week, that he wasn't well enough prepared for that Salamence set, because Slowbro doesn't do the job anymore. Sorry, Crimson. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Crimson, fighting for a playoff spot in this final week. We'll see what happens. This is going to be a very exciting game. Spoilers, by the way, guys, at the time of recording this game has not been played yet. So we don't even know the result. We have no idea what's going on. Anything can happen. So moving on to his opponent this coming week, week 12, we have Tom and the San Jose Sharpedos. I really like the way that Tom prepped and played out this game against Necro. He used Celesteela to a T very well. Didn't get a kill all season, got 2 this week. He used the Leech Seed, the Giga Drain, the Air Slash, the Heavy Slime, the entire set he used against Necro's team, and it worked out perfectly. Necro was forced to sack Mons, pivot around on the Toxic Spikes to try to avoid Celesteela getting Beast Boost so that his Lantern could still potentially take it out. It was really nicely played by Tom. I like the way that he executed the game. The beginning of the game was a little bit stally with the Vaporeon, but he did what he had to make sure that his Nidoqueen got in safely. He had to Wish Protect up against the Reuniclus, or else it was going to tear through him because it was Life Orb. And he was also scouting for the Thunder, which was a very real possibility. I think we even mentioned that when helping him build. So, yeah, no, I think Tom did a great job. And if he can carry this confidence and this momentum into his last game against Chase. This could be huge for him. Tom could actually make playoffs, which, of course, as we all know, he was not able to do last season. He ended up last, so that would be a huge improvement. And I did say earlier that Callum was one of the most improved teams over the course of this season, but from last season to this season, Tom has definitely shown us what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, so as you said, we did help Tom prep this week. We'll help anyone prep, like any of the coaches prep. They just have to ask. Tom has been nice enough and asked us, so we've sat down with him. I actually was in call with Tom while we were prepping this game out together, and I believe the Celesteela set was the first one that was actually worked up, and that thing put in a ton of work. That thing got 2 kills. It was just 3 attacks was very tough to switch into. Giga Drain was Tom's idea. I wasn't exactly on board with that originally. He's like, nah, dude, trust me, this will work. And it did work perfectly for him. The T-Spikes Nidoqueen was extremely smart. Hitmonlee AV was extremely clutch. That Darm was actually terrifying. I didn't believe those calcs until I saw them for myself. I'm like, why even have Flare Blitz on this set? You're just going to click Fire Punch the whole time. But it never actually got in or got a hit off. The Thundy to revenge kill the Swellow was smart, and Vape is always a nice bring. On the play this week, he did get a little bit lucky. Hacks was a bit in his favor. I don't know how much they actually influenced the game as a whole, but they didn't exactly make it harder for him, so we take those. His prep just seemed to work out. The Steela set killed it, like I said, and it seems like since Necro's team was so grounded, the T-Spikes were just extremely good for him. They didn't let Necro gain a lot of momentum. He was always having to switch around. His moms were getting progressively worn down. He doesn't have a lot of reliable recovery on that team, or something that can absorb the T-Spikes. So I like what Tom's been doing. He's had a lot of ups and downs this season, like a lot of coaches, but Tom, we'll see if it's Tom or Crimson who's going to end this season on a high note and actually achieve a playoff berth. But let's go to the teams that have officially qualified for the playoffs, and the first one we have is Geo at number 7. So the man, the myth, the legend, gym leader Geo has been on an absolute tear coming into these playoffs. Don't let the number 7 fool you guys. This man has been insane lately. He took a team that was, I believe, 14th at one point on both of our rankings, and he's brought it to a leader of a division in these last few weeks. So this man is a threat to anyone he plays. I mean, and it's nothing more to say. He brought the perfect men set to pull a game. He was down and back. The Conk was smart. It beats almost any variant of Volcarona nicely. Very good bring. The Arcanine has not been the monster some expected it to, but he's definitely trying to replicate his Entei success almost to the exact set. With the Caliente he brought a few seasons ago. Very nice wall core to round out and support his offense, but like I said, he didn't start the game amazingly. But once he saw his opportunity to get Menton and get that DD up and the Slowbro and see that it was not Colberberry, he won. And that's just a matter of having the right set at the right time, and you have to give all the props in the world to Geo for getting them on at the right time and pulling the trigger. We talked about that last week. Some coaches wait too long sometimes. Geo did not. So very good on him. Good job this week, Geo.
Yeah, Geo definitely has been on a ridiculous tear. I didn't think he'd be able to pull it off, to be honest with you. Of all of the coaches that could have done it, I wasn't expecting Geo to come out so strong in the end of the season. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, I didn't watch this game fully, unfortunately, but I know what happened, so he's just been doing such a great job. I'm a huge Geo fan, I've said it before in the past, and I'm really glad to see that he clinched playoffs, that he's finally making it in, and not only that, as the number 1 seed in his division. Granted, it's not the strongest division, but it's the most balanced, I would say, of all of the divisions. It's not overpowered, it's not underpowered, so there's definitely some merit to being number 1 in Geo's division, so definitely good job, man. I'll say it over and over again. Really happy to see you in playoffs and really hoping you can take it past the first round of playoffs, which I have never been able to do personally. But moving on, we have in our number 6 spot, we have a coach that I wanted to move up, but unfortunately the 5 players above him just have had better performances in general, I feel. But this week, wow, John and the New Orleans Pelipers, finally, a team takes out our number 1 spot in MV and the San Diego Chim Chargers. And John did it so well, getting up those subs on the Cresselia. He utilized all of his mons so well, and he recognized that the Cresselia didn't have an attacking move. And from then, it was just like, all right, every time I get in my Milotic on this thing, it's over. I can pivot him around on his team with Dragon Tail, Scald, and Just honestly, John, bravo, dude. I know one of the people in your front office, and I don't know who the other 3 are, but they did a great job helping you, and you executed game plan 100% perfectly.
Yeah, he definitely did a fantastic job this week. There's no denying that. He took down Envy, and we both knew he could win this game. I believe we actually both took him in the pick.
Yeah, we did.
Because when the timer does not end the game, John usually will. So I liked his odds this week because that doesn't sound like something Envy would do. But I also knew Envy would be a little lax this week. Maybe not as much as he was letting on if you look at the team, but John did everything right in order to win this week. We know Mamo destroys Envy's team, so fuck it. Why wouldn't a pile of swine?
Yep.
Did a ton of work. He brought a better Jolteon set. He learned from last time and adapted. And we saw a fast electric type put in work versus Envy's team. Maybe not the way I expected, but it did it. Scolipede, always a good bring versus Envy. And the big thing about John is I still stand by the fact he has the best team in the league. I truly believe that. So going into playoffs, that will always be a factor. And that is something that has got to be terrifying for every other coach, which is going to benefit John. His play, as you said, he did everything right. Executed the game plan down to a T. Very quickly realized Crest was like free everything, no attacks. We'll get to Envy, why that's a bad idea a little bit later. The Milotic totally came through. Very, very bulky. Take on a lot of Envy's team. And he overall, he did what John does, and he won the game. And John has been extremely good this season. He's lost a lot of games to the timer. So if the playoffs happen and the coach does not take it down to the timer, and you're playing John, it's going to be a close one, I'll tell you that. But I think that allows us to roll right on. And like you said, the 5 above him have been doing great, and there is no exception to the one just above him. Gator, who made just as impressive a feat this week when he took down Chimpact. And, if you missed the games, that's right. Envy and Chimp both fell to number 5 and 6, who are both playoff teams, which will make this a very interesting playoff run because we basically see that the top 8 teams are extremely competitive, so nobody will have it easy going into the first round or any round this season. But overall, Gator did what he had to do, and I think Gator is the dark horse this year in the playoff run. I like what this guy's been doing, how he's been getting better. I believe he actually started 1-3, so take that into perspective how he's been playing the back half of the season. Latios was cool. He probably should have went for Memento. I thought the Sucker Punch from the Decidueye was a little obvious. And he basically lost it for nothing. It didn't affect him too much, but if that Tran had taken the +2 Sucker Punch, could have been in a bit of trouble. Great move bringing the Scarf Tran. That thing put in so much work versus Chimpact. If Aloe was not brought, it was not brought for Gator's preference. I'm pretty sure he listens to us because he did run the HP Fire Mamoswine this week, which I recommended the last time he played Chimpact. Offensive Toxic on that Tran would have made you able to deal with Aloe a little easier. It still would not have beat it 1v1, but definitely would have worked out a little bit better. Now, like I said, he brought the HP Fire Mamo. Thank you, Gator, for listening. I don't know if you're listening or you just figured it out on your own. I'm going to assume you were listening because it helps my ego. Diggersby was great. Gator, the best Pyukumuku player I know. And overall, did what he had to do. Weakened the Azu. Knocked off its Assault Vest. And basically just got to clean up Chimp's team one by one with the Heatran. Inevitably ending in a Scarf Flamethrower, not Fire Blast. Good move on Gator there. A Scarf Flamethrower sweep, so great job, Gator. He did what he had to do this week, and he picked up a W, so you can't say much about it.
When you got a Scarf Heatran, you got to run a powerful fire attack and an accurate fire attack. That's exactly what Gator did, and it resulted in Gator actually moving Heatran into the kill leader spot. He's got Heatran as the kill leader for the GBA, which is crazy. You think about a Pokemon with a 4x weakness and how often that's been looked at as something negative, and Gator has used it so well to his advantage, not bringing Heatran defensively most of the time. It normally comes off offensively for him, and I think that's something that coaches should start noticing moving into playoffs, is that when that Heatran comes, more often than not, it's very heavily speed invested, or it's some kind of specs, or Scarf, or just it could even be Life Orb, which is an item we hate. Expert Belt, anything.
It can't, Gator, it can't be Life Orb.
It can't be Life Orb, just don't run Life Orb, but he's been using that very well. I think he played the game super well. You did mention knocking off the Azu's Assault Vest. I don't think Chimp expected half of the Mons that died to Flamethrower or Fire Blast to actually die. near the end of the game. He was just sending in things to go down, which was, I mean, he didn't have a choice at that point, but we'll get to that in a second. Overall, Gator, like you said, started off the season not so strong, had us doubting his ability in terms of Draft League format. Not so much as a player, because we know that he's a good ladder player. He's a very good Pokemon player in general, and he adapted so quickly to Draft League format, which is something that I love seeing. We saw a lot less of an adaptation period from Chimp and from MV last season, but sometimes people just take a little more time to get their footholding. But look who's in the top 5 now. We've got the crew, Gator, Chimp, and MV. They're all there, so that's pretty much it for Gator. Moving on to my number 4 and Jar's number 4 as well. The placement, the player that I have in this place was actually moved down on my rankings, not because he lost, because he did win, but more so because I wanted to move somebody up ahead of him. And he also did win against our number 16 seed, who has been in number 16 since the beginning of the season. So we have Monotui, of course, in the Tampa Bay Lux Rays. Just another dominating performance. There's not much to say here. He did a great job with Jirachi and Roserade in general, the Scarf Roserade, being able to tear through Tup's team. I was really curious. I didn't get to talk about this with Tup, but Z Sunny Day Hydreigon was interesting when there's a Florges on the other side, to say the least. I don't think Mono had any trouble with this game, but I did move him down again because it's not too much of a dominating win, and we haven't seen anything too crazy from Mono lately.
Yeah, you're right. Mono has been doing about the same stuff, but, you know, it works for him. He's a pretty straightforward player, actually, when you start looking at his season as a whole. He will not go into the top 3 again, because the guys in the top 3, I believe, have cemented themselves a little more than Mono. You did see some of that flashes of prep I was talking about at the beginning of the season. If Blissey came, Roserade wouldn't be a threat, but the Buzzwole would be a gigantic threat. And if Blissey didn't come, as we saw, the Roserade was a gigantic threat, allowing him to basically break through Tup's team with relative ease. Jirachi was able to take on everything that it needed to. Gren was Specs, kind of the same set, so I don't know if Mono's just bringing the same sets because it works, but I think that's why I said before, his team might be a little easier to take on the second time around, and we'll see if that actually is something that'll affect him in playoffs. But yeah, Mono was expected to win this game, so winning it does not give us too much like stuff to move him up with.
Intel,
so
yeah.
So for now, he's gonna stay at number 4, and I think we can roll right into number 3 now. I might have moved him up, but the thing is, guys, I don't give a fuck. These 3 people have clinched playoffs, and they're the top 3 players, no matter what order you put them in. They're pretty interchangeable at this point, but George did take down Lars this week, even though the top 2 guys lost. George is rolling with momentum right now, and that's something you can't exactly say for Envy and Chimp. His prep, I do disagree with not bringing the Registeel, because fuck Magearna. But, you know, maybe you're a step above us or a moron, one of the two. We'll see when playoffs roll around which one it is. Miencha was solid and put in a lot of work. The mismatch was cool, but overall his prep, good, but Dual Dance Magearna would have swept him pretty easily. But he didn't think it would come, and it didn't, so he did that well. He played a very good game overall. The Mew was perfect for him, just bulky as shit, doing what Mew can do. Lars really couldn't break his wall core, even with the Magearna, the specific one he brought. But this game, I think, was won at prep, at team matchup, when George decided to not bring Registeel, and Lars decided to over-prep for it, and George is able to roll over Lars and become a very, very serious, once again, contender for this season of the GBA.
Absolutely. George completely outplayed Lars in the beginning of the game, just whittling down with rocks the Rotom Heat, the Latias, and being able to catch the Rotom Heat, staying in on a high jump kick, knocking it out. Probably one of the biggest problems to his team, being that the Magearna was not there. So yeah, the Registeel not coming. Very, very interesting on George's part, but I think in general he's got a good game plan going into games. I think he can cover things like Magearna decently well, even without something like a Registeel. You look at his team, it's got good options. He's got a very bulky fire type in Entei, which can take a hit from Magearna, pretty much anything that it wants to, even Z moves like Twinkle Tackle or Corkscrew Crash, and can fire back a Sacred Fire or a Flare Blitz or even a Fire Blast if it wants to run special and destroy Magearna. So, I mean, he's got a lot of things to cover things like that. But overall, George has just shown us, like you said, that he's an extremely potent player in Draft League format, and when he gets on a roll, he's almost impossible to stop. A player like MV that is so feared this season was so easily taken down by George last season in playoffs. Granted that MV did not have a good answer to Manaphy, but his team was like made up of 4 water types, and he couldn't deal with a Manaphy. So, I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. But George is definitely showing us that he has a team that he's comfortable with, that he's moving into playoffs with confidence, and that he's somebody to be feared. So I'm really happy to see that from George. We were waiting for that for the first 4 or 5 weeks for him to show us what he was really made of, and he's finally here. So he's in our number 3 spot. Moving on to number 2, we have Chimpact and the Philadelphia Scissors. The second last time we'll be talking about them this season, guys, and it's actually a loss. He lost to Gator. We're not moving him down. I'm keeping Chimp in. I'm actually putting Chimp in number 3. I moved George up ahead of him, but Jar kept Chimp where he was. So we're talking about him in second place, just because he's been here for the majority of the season. I believe he was even first at some point, but Chimp, I think he was just not prepped for a Scarf Heat Ran. That's as much as I have to say. As soon as he lost his Assault Vest on his Azumarill, it was pretty much over. And Gator caught him. Sometimes that happens. It's not really too much based on prep or play. Sometimes your opponent just out preps you, and it's gonna happen sometimes. And Chimp got the receiving end of it this week. And if he can avoid it for the entirety of playoffs, he will be season 7 champion. But if it happens again, and we've seen it happen a couple of times now, where he gets caught off guard by prep, then he is going to be eliminated. And I'm curious to see how that turns out for him.
Yeah, so the reason I didn't move Chimp is because I don't give a fuck again. That's right, take a shot every time Jar says he does not give a fuck this week. That is exactly what you guys are going to say. I'm one step ahead, but you're right. I mean, he did just get beat by Gator on prep. The Scarf Heat Ran was brilliant. I was waiting for a dick joke after you said receiving end, but it didn't come, so I'll just throw that in there. But I didn't understand a lot of Chimp's prep, actually, this week. The Banded Curum I thought was weird. I just think that wasn't necessary. E-Belt with 4 attacks covered all of Gator's team, basically. But maybe he saw something I didn't. I don't know. He has a Fortress. Not a Fortress, a Ferrothorn. So that was interesting. The Kofa Gregas I thought was really solid. Aviazu was necessary, but didn't have the longevity he actually needed. And basically, he just lost because he couldn't really beat Gator's Wall Core without losing key factors he needed in order to not lose that game. Specifically, Ferrothorn and Azu. Azu basically died taking out Ferrothorn, and which allowed Heatran to pick up, I believe, what was 5 kills this week. Again, we talked about it a little bit ago. So, again, like you said, Chimp, he can either be... He's had a lot of ups and downs this season, maybe a few more downs than people think. You'll hear games after Chimp wins where he says, oh man, I got lucky, or oh man, I played horribly. He's got to not do that if he wants to win. And we're going to see if he can do it for, I believe, what would have to be 3 games straight. So that'll be interesting. But last, but certainly, probably least, MV will remain at number 1 even after a loss to John. I'm not sure how hard he was actually trying, but his team didn't look like a meme team or a team that was necessarily built to not win. It looked like standard MV prep at this point. Wakan or Berry of some kind, Empoleon. Scarf Landorus. The Kingdra was cool, but he's brought shit like that before, so it wasn't anything like out of left field. The AV Mag was something he brought last time as well, so I know he could have won with this team. So I think it was just a situation where MV actually just got out-prepped and outplayed this week by John. I know he wants to hold some of his cards in his hand for his game against John in the playoffs because there's a good chance those two will meet. So you got to keep an eye out for that because John cannot win the division because I think MV is winning it. So they could easily meet. So I can understand MV wanting to hold some cards in his hand. But again, it comes back to the fact MV has only taken down... I think somebody said in the comments last week he played Geo at some point. But you take a look at his 2 biggest wins this season. They're against Geo and John. Early season, back when Geo was still a losing team, and John was still a getting used to his team kind of player. He was like 1-1 at that point, and he was brand new to Gen 7. So I don't know if this says something about MV in playoffs, but he's the number 1 team. I'm going to keep him there, but I'm a little concerned for him going into playoffs. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. We'll see what D plus MV can do going into playoffs.
Yeah, D plus MV. His showdown name this week was actually no longer D plus, which is interesting. And MV, I think MV legitimately just lost, kind of like Chimp Act. He lost this week, and I think John busted out very great sets against him. Again, that caught him off guard, that he wasn't able to deal with, and he got taken down finally. And he stays at our number 1 just because he's still a massive threat, and he has been all season, and one loss is not going to take away from that, because he's still got the best record amongst all our teams. So you have to keep that in mind. We say it all the time. We're not rankings, but we're not standings, but you have to take into consideration that MV has only lost 2 games, and the first one being at the beginning of the season against our number 5 team, the other being against our number 6 team. So he's definitely done a great job all season. And yeah, no, I think that I was watching a poke game video. I just want to mention this. Joey, and he said...
Way to stay on topic, Aster.
No, but he said something about MV that I find very interesting, and if you guys can find that sound clip and just go listen, go through his videos and listen to the comment about MV. I believe it was a video with Gator very recently, and you'll hear something about his prep and his GBA videos. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for MV. He's done a great job. He will stay at number 1, I believe, unless something horrible happens in the last week. Who is he even taking on in the final week? Do we know?
I don't believe I know who it is, but again, we've been commenting about his schedule all year, so I doubt it's anyone in the top 5.
Yeah, I know John was his biggest obstacle from I believe week 8 or 9.
It could be Steve for all we know.
Yeah, it could very well be Steve. I'm actually gonna find out right now.
While Aster does that, I'm gonna entertain you guys with some hilarious jokes. All right, so. I have no actual jokes. I'm just stalling
okay,
time.
he's taking on Callum, and yeah, so the Alola Athletic is his final opponent. We'll see how that ends. Maybe Callum might want to come out with a strong performance to end off his season, or maybe he's just going to take it easy. MV might as well. We never know. These last games, the ones that don't matter, they, like I said, they don't really matter. But guys, definitely be looking out for Tom versus Crimson. That is going to be the most important game left in the final week. It decides everything. It decides who the last seed is for playoffs. So I don't think we've had a game like that too often where the 2 players that can still make playoffs, the only 2 remaining players, face off against each other in the final week. This may be the first time. You guys can correct me in the comment section if I am wrong, but I'm probably wrong. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this week, guys. It's a little bit shorter than usual. That's what we wanted.
It's still 41 minutes.
Well, actually, it's shorter than that. But anyway, we're happy to have brought you Power Rankings again this week, guys. This is our second to last week. We're almost done, and it's been a hell of a ride. And with all the teams confirmed for playoffs and all the teams confirmed out of playoffs, we have very little work left to do. The biggest thing is going to be covering next week's match between Crimson and Tom, and then just talking about how each player who's already contended for playoffs has done all season. And that's going to be it for us, so definitely be looking out for that. That is next week. Again, make sure to watch all of the games this weekend, especially Tom versus Crimson. That is so important. Jar, do you want to take us out?
Alright guys, so if you enjoyed this, make sure you try and catch us next week as well. Make sure you subscribe to the GBA channel for all the awesome content we try to provide you guys daily. Also, go subscribe to all the coaches, who I believe are always down in the description.
Of course.
And I think that will do it for us here. I think we can sign off for now, so we will see you guys later.
Bye.